What if the moment after death isn't an immediate verdict? Not a simple choice between two doors, but the beginning of a trial by fire. Imagine a place where souls are suspended between worlds, a state of agonizing love where every last imperfection is burned away. This isn't hell, because every soul here is destined for heaven, but it's not heaven yet. This is the great cleansing, the holy furnace spoken of by saints who were granted a terrifying glimpse into the afterlife. They called it Purgatory, and what they saw reveals a process so intense, so filled with both pain and profound love, that it changes everything we think we know about sin, mercy, and the price of perfection. If you find this exploration of faith and the afterlife meaningful, consider subscribing to journey with us into more of these sacred mysteries. Let's be perfectly clear, Purgatory is not a lesser hell or a second chance. The souls in hell are there by their own final, definitive choice to reject God. Their fate is sealed in despair. The souls in Purgatory, however, are the saved. They died in a state of grace, in friendship with God, but are not yet pure enough to enter the divine presence. The defining characteristic of Purgatory is not its pain, but its absolute, unshakable hope. Every soul there knows, with a certainty that surpasses any earthly knowledge, that they will one day see God face to face. This hope is their strength, yet it is also the source of their greatest suffering, the agonizing delay in reaching the one they love more than anything. Perhaps no one has described this state more profoundly than Saint Catherine of Genoa, a 15th century mystic. In her treatise on Purgatory, she explains something shocking. The soul isn't sent to Purgatory as a punishment. Rather, the moment it is free from the body, it sees God in a flash of divine light. In that same instant, it sees itself with perfect clarity. Every stain, every attachment to sin, every imperfection, the soul is so overcome with love for the perfect goodness of God, and so horrified by its own blemishes, that it willingly, almost joyfully, plunges itself into the cleansing fire. It cries out for this purification. It understands that to stand before perfect holiness while still marked by sin would be an even greater agony. The fire, for Catherine, is the pain of a love that is not yet ready, a burning desire for a union that is delayed by its own unworthiness. Theologians and saints describe two primary sufferings in Purgatory. The first, and by far the greatest, is the poena damni, the pain of loss. This is the temporary deprivation of the beatific vision, the sight of God. Having had that momentary glimpse of God's infinite beauty and love at the moment of death, the soul now feels an intense, all-consuming homesickness. It's a thirst that cannot be quenched, a longing so profound it eclipses any physical torment. The second is the poena sensus, the pain of sense. This is the cleansing fire itself. Saints have described it as a real spiritual fire that burns away the residue of sin. It is not a fire of vengeance, but of purification. Think of a blacksmith placing gold into the crucible. The fire doesn't destroy the gold. It burns away the dross, the impurities, leaving the gold more brilliant and pure than before. This pain is real, but it is embraced as the necessary means to a glorious end. In the 20th century, Saint Faustina Kowalska, the Apostle of Divine Mercy, recorded in her diary a vision where her guardian angel took her to Purgatory. She described it as a murky place, filled with fire, though it was a different kind of fire than that of hell. A terrible fog and darkness permeated the space. She wrote, "There was a great crowd of suffering souls. They were praying fervently, but for themselves, their prayers were ineffective. They were completely reliant on us, the living." Saint Faustina asked the souls what their greatest torment was. They answered in unison, their yearning for God. This confirms what other mystics have seen. The primary suffering is the separation from divine love. Her vision serves as a powerful reminder of the Church's teaching on the communion of saints, that we, the Church on earth, are connected to these souls, the Church suffering. This is where our role becomes critical. The souls in Purgatory are often called the holy souls because they are assured of salvation, but they are helpless to help themselves. Their time for meriting grace is over. They are completely dependent on the mercy of God, which is often channeled through the prayers and sacrifices of the faithful on earth. St. Thomas Aquinas taught that even the smallest prayer offered for them is of great value. The most powerful prayer of all is the Holy Mass, where the sacrifice of Christ on the cross is made present again. Offering a Mass for a deceased loved one is the greatest gift we can give them. Our rosaries, our small sacrifices, our acts of charity, all of it can be offered for their relief. Like sending a cool drink of water to someone in a desert of fire. Saint Padre Pio, the famous stigmatic, had numerous documented encounters with souls from purgatory. They would appear to him, asking for his prayers to shorten their time of cleansing. One famous story involves a deceased friar from his own monastery. This friar appeared to Padre Pio and explained that he was in purgatory because he had been negligent in his duties. He asked Padre Pio to offer a Mass for him. The next morning, Padre Pio did so. Later, the friar appeared to him again, this time radiant and joyful, thanking him before ascending to heaven. On another occasion, Padre Pio was praying when he heard a voice. It was the soul of a man who had died in a fire at the monastery years earlier. The man revealed he was still in purgatory, paying for a lack of faith. These encounters made purgatory intensely real for Padre Pio, not as an abstract doctrine, but as a state filled with real people whom we have a solemn duty to assist. While not official doctrine, many saints have described purgatory as having different levels or states of purification, corresponding to the soul's state at death. The lowest levels are for those who died with serious but repented mortal sins or with a deep attachment to venial sin. Here, the purification is most intense, the darkness most profound. These are souls who are perhaps lukewarm, neglectful of their spiritual duties, or who took God's mercy for granted. As a soul is cleansed, it ascends to higher levels. Here, the pain of sense lessens, and the joy of anticipated union with God grows stronger. The souls in the highest state of purgatory are on the very threshold of heaven. They are filled with an ecstatic peace and love, suffering only the sweet pain of waiting for that final, glorious moment of entry into paradise. The visions given to the children at Fatima, Portugal, are most famous for their terrifying glimpse of hell. But they also contain a profound lesson about purgatory. The angel of peace taught the children a specific prayer. My God, I believe, I adore, I hope, and I love thee. I ask pardon for those who do not believe, do not adore, do not hope, and do not love thee. This call to make reparation for the sins of others is directly linked to helping souls. Furthermore, Our Lady's request for prayers and sacrifices, especially the Rosary, for the conversion of sinners is also a plea to prevent souls from going to hell and to purify those who are saved but require cleansing. The visions underscore the chasm between a soul ready for heaven and one that is not, and how our actions on earth can bridge that gap for others. A common question is whether purgatory is a physical place or a state of being. While ancient art often depicted it as a specific location, modern theology, including the Catechism of the Catholic Church, describes it primarily as a condition or process. Pope Benedict XVI explained it beautifully. He suggested that the fire that both burns and saves is Christ himself, the judge and savior. The encounter with him is the decisive act of judgment. Before his gaze, all falsehood melts away. This encounter with him, which burns us, transforms and frees us, allowing us to become truly ourselves. It's not a place with a celestial timekeeper, but a transformative moment where the soul's love is perfected by the fire of Christ's own love. This reframes the entire concept. The fire of purgatory is not an external, punishing fire inflicted by an angry God. It is the internal fire of God's own love, which is pure truth. When a soul, still attached to lies and selfishness, encounters this fire of pure truth and love, it hurts. It burns away the lies. It burns away the ego. It burns away every motivation that was not rooted in pure love for God and neighbor. Saint Catherine of Genoa said, "The joy of the souls in purgatory is greater than any joy on earth, because they are being made perfect. They see the rust of their sin being scoured away and rejoice in their increasing beauty." The pain and the joy are two sides of the same coin, the transforming encounter with divine love. While the word purgatory isn't in the Bible, the concept is rooted in Scripture. In the Old Testament, in the second book of Maccabees, We see Judas Maccabeus and his men praying for their fallen comrades who had sinned, making atonement for them so they might be delivered from their sin. This act makes no sense if souls go directly to either heaven or hell. In the New Testament, St. Paul speaks in his first letter to the Corinthians about a day when each man's work will be tested by fire. He says if the work survives, he will receive a reward. If it is burned up, he will suffer loss, though he himself will be saved, but only as through fire. Most importantly, the book of Revelation states that nothing unclean will ever enter the New Jerusalem, heaven. This implies a final purification is necessary for those who die in God's friendship, but are not yet perfectly clean. And so, after this period of purification, a time that cannot be measured by earthly clocks, the soul is finally perfected. Every last attachment to self is gone. Every last stain is washed clean. It is now a perfect mirror reflecting the love and holiness of God. It is ready. The final moment arrives when the soul, now more beautiful than any star, ascends from the cleansing fire and enters the beatific vision. It is the ultimate homecoming, the moment of union for which it was created and for which it so painfully longed. The joy of this moment is infinite, retroactively rendering the entire suffering of purgatory a small price to pay for an eternity of unimaginable bliss in the presence of God Himself. This is the end goal, the promise that sustained every soul through the cleansing flames. Ultimately, the doctrine of purgatory is a doctrine of immense hope and mercy. It acknowledges the reality of our human weakness. Few of us live lives of such heroic virtue that we would be ready for immediate entry into heaven. And few of us, hopefully, die in a state of complete rejection of God. Purgatory is God's final mercy, a testament to the fact that He desires to save us and will do everything possible to purify us for the eternal wedding feast. It is not a place to be feared in a servile way, but a reality that should motivate us to live holier lives now, to purify ourselves through prayer and penance on this side of eternity, so that our own cleansing may be swift and we may more quickly reach the embrace of our loving Father. What do you think is the most misunderstood aspect of purgatory? Share your thoughts in the comments below.